my subject for this podcast is going to be at peace today. The reason that I like that idea is because peace is so big and sometimes so ephemeral. But I've learned as a mother of 10 and a student of family science and psychology and all kinds of crazy adventures, including visiting 20 countries and doing development projects all over the world, that all I need to worry about is today. So, hoping that you can be at peace today. And we will talk about peace this month. This podcast is geared towards helping us get a hold of our essential emotions. And I have this magic wheel here that if you wanted to download it or buy it, it's called essentialemotions.com. It is an intellectual property from a friend that I truly trust and admire. She is a successful mother, a wonderful entrepreneur, and a very kind and generous person. So that you know, we will be covering all those 12 essential emotions from this wheel over the course of the year. And the reason I wanted to start in December is because as a new year comes, it's nice to have a plan. It's nice to think about what we're going to do that next year. Because most of the time, I'm assuming you have the same issues I do because we're like all human. But by February, like around Valentine's, all those great year resolutions are gone, especially the get to the gym one. But I would erase this intentionally. I have now found a way to hopefully fit them into the most fitting month. For example, in February, we will talk about love. But in January, next month, we will be talking about awareness. Because in order for us to progress and truly have an excellent year, hopefully a little better than 2020, we need to be aware. We need to be aware of who we are, where we are, what skills we have, what things we lack. So we'll talk about that later. But for now, I want to talk to you about peace. It is nice because it comes during the holiday season. And we all talk about peace and we sing songs about peace. And sometimes we forget what that looks like. Especially I have noticed as I've traveled all over the world with my development projects that there are some cultures in the world that don't know what that really means because they have never experienced it in their environment. We will talk about that on the third week of December. I have a very wonderful guest that is going to be coming and talking to us about what does it look like when your country or your environment is not at peace. How do you deal with your own peacefulness? Okay, so starting there, I also want to tell you that this wonderful friend that is letting me use her wheel is letting me use this magic little book. Sorry, I'm not trying to sell it. It just sounds like an infomercial, but I have really loved it. And anytime that you want to find answers to those essential emotions, I have been able to find a lot of answers in this simple little book. And let me just read to you. I feel like I'm in some classroom and making you fall asleep. I hope I'm not making you fall asleep. But here is the important thing about this description of peace that I want you to know, and it's so well written that I rather not misquote it. So it says, people thrive when they feel connected to the divine. I'm not talking about religion here. It's just the idea of connecting to something higher than yourself. And as we go through this month, we'll have examples of family peace. What does that take? How does connecting to the divine or something bigger than yourself, even a parent that is bigger than yourself when you're a baby, how does that help you find peace? So souls achieve true and lasting peace through connection to the source. Without this true peace, there is a human tendency to try to manufacture peace by controlling one's environment and relationships. Wow. Talk about how the world would be different if we didn't just choose to try to manufacture peace by controlling other people or our environment. That there would be so much more real, tangible, peaceful relationships, especially when it comes to family or government. So here's the next sentence. Especially when one feels afraid, it is tempting to try to control others because it gives an artificial sense of order and safety. Have you ever been there? Have you ever felt so afraid that you thought, okay, I just need to have something in my life that I can't control? I've been there. Like I said, I'm the mother of 10, and I raised some wonderfully intelligent and sometimes difficult children. It comes with the intelligence. Feeling as a young mother that my older teenagers, it was poor kids. They were my guinea pigs, but I felt like I needed to control their environment and keep them safe and never let them see anything bad or do anything bad. And that does not build a relationship. That does not build peace, not for me, not for them. So I have 8 sons in a row, 2 girls, and I call them my little girls, even though almost both of them are taller. My older one is taller than me. The other one is about 5'8", like I am. Anyway, I've learned the hard way what this sentence has to say. Okay, so peace invites individuals to connect to the true source of unending peace and let go of control and excess attachment in order to experience the incredible peace that flows from the divine. Here's the divine again. Like I said, however you want to name that divine, it's not up to me to define it. But I do want to tell you that as I have studied family science, if my full-time career is going to be motherhood, I figure, okay, I'm going to study psychology and family science, and it's actually been really helpful. One of the things that we discuss in family science is family enmeshment. Sounds fancy or weird, but what it really means is that, for example, there's diffuser here, and then we'll talk about oils in a moment because I think they are part of finding peace in your environment, just a sense around you. For example, this is one object. Is sometimes our families end up looking like this. This is the Fletcher family, one big blob that has no beginning and no end, no parts, no personalities. I don't want that. I thought that's what I wanted because I thought, if I could just figure out a way that I can choose for my children because I am older and smarter, right? That doesn't work. Children are not Play-Doh. The thing that I learned the hardest was that they are a seed. And what your job is to plant them in very fertile ground and nurture and water and give sunshine and help them to connect to their divine source. A family should be more like parts, if these are the parents. So I can tell I deal with a lot of children, so it's fun to have a graphic. And I know that not all of you are watching and you don't need to watch, but just imagine that each individual, it is an individual, right? By the way, the creator of this magic wheel, this magic book, is a wonderful doTERRA person. So I'm using those oils to illustrate the peace part and the family not enmeshment, if that makes sense. So here's my Robert, and here's my Brad, and here's my Scotty. He's going to be different. Grant is going to be completely different. And Rose, she's going to have her things that she's going to be different about, and that's okay. Okay, so each of us need to recognize that we cannot have excess attachment. I'm not saying that we should be detached. Our world already has enough social distancing. No, that is not healthy. But we cannot decide that our definition of self is literally connected to our child. Again, I will tell you from experience that it doesn't work. As I was raising my older children, and I was a young, very unexperienced mother, and I feel like I'm still fairly unexperienced, I thought that my definition of self had to do with how my children turned out. For all of you mothers listening, quit that. It's going to destroy you. These are humans. They are individuals. They are intelligent. They are powerful. They are full of light. Start to trust that your nurturing will be enough. And if it's not enough, that's okay. Learn how to nurture better. Learn how to teach better. Learn how to understand them better. So that piece of peace is extremely important. That we don't create excess attachments because, like I said from personal experience, there were a couple of children that just tore my heart. And not because they were being evil. It's just because I misunderstood my role. I was their mother. I was not their creator. Neither was I the person that made them out of clay. Because they are children of the divine. And they have their own intelligence. Okay, so the next sentence. It invites individuals to trust in divine goodness and grace. I love that word. Grace. Your grace is a gift, right? We cannot necessarily create peace. We can be proactive about seeking peace and finding it. But the idea of somehow we're going to create peace for ourselves by controlling our environment, that's not real. It's not possible. It's just going to make us miserable. In some other, another month, we're going to talk about the different levels of interacting. We don't have time for that today, but let me tell you that thinking that we're fully independent is not healthy. It has never been healthy. You cannot be fully independent. Yes, you should not be dependent on people for the rest of your life. Only when you were a baby, probably. But if you can't get so far away to think, oh, I control my world. Really? You control COVID and all the crazy stuff happening? No, you can't. Okay. Peace affirms that no amount of control or effort can fill the empty soul. It reminds individuals that only by connecting to the divine, they will cultivate lasting peace. Absolutely loved. Simple definition with lots and lots of principles that we need to follow. So in the next 3 weeks of December, we'll start to unfold what peace looks like. For example, here in this little petal that says peace, it has different little micro emotions, if you were to say. I'm sure you can't see it, and I don't need you to see it, but I will read it. You need to be relaxed, right? Peace, relax, yeah. Harmonious, that's relationships. That's what we were just talking about. And then we will talk about that as we go through this month. It was so fun. I think it's going to be so fun to have my children come and tell me stories, hopefully not surprises, things I don't know that they have done, but anyway, we'll find out. So you have to be harmonious. You have to be proactive about being kind and loved and lovable, right? Because sometimes we think, oh, I'm giving enough love. But if we notice that none of the people that we think we're loving are loving us back, we need to figure out what is it that we're doing that is maybe alienating them. Maybe we're over nurturing, maybe we're over controlling, or we're just so aloof and we don't care because they're their own thing. So we don't even think about maybe making a meal at least once a week might be a good bonding thing with our family. And yes, you're going to hear a lot about family. That's my full-time profession, right? I'm a full-time mother. That's what I do for a living. And I've taken it seriously because I believe the best way to change the world is to help those little seeds grow into the magnificent people they were sent here to become. And it's up to us not to control them, just to nurture them and to understand their strengths and understand their weaknesses in order to best feed what they need for their soil, if we were to keep that analogy. Okay, so we need to be centered, stable. I mean, don't worry. I don't think there are any people in the world that could possibly have all these things, but I just wanted to make you aware that there are pieces of peace. Calm. I think most of us think peace is calm. Yeah, it's a manifestation of peace, but since we're talking about connecting to the divine and being self-aware, it goes deep into your heart. It's so much more than calmness. Peaceful. Hello, yes. Peaceful as part of being peace being at peace. Restful. Okay, moms, it's okay. Eventually, you'll get a night of sleep, a full night. Eventually. I remember when I had young teenagers and babies. Oh. By 5 p.m, you did not want to talk to me. Exhausted, just like a 2-year-old. So yes, restful is part of it. And as much as we can, take advantage of the opportunities to go to bed early and get up early and get some rest and exercise. And those, of course, are physical things that we need to do. But if you're going to talk about emotions, your body, your mind, and your spirit, they're all connected, right? You can't say, oh, I'm just going to stay up all night till 2 a.m. watching Star Wars and then expect not to be tired and to be pleasant and to be harmonious and to be all of those. It's only to be balanced. Goodness, that's a hard one. How do you balance motherhood and fun and self-care and career and everything else that we feel like we have expected to do? Relieved, reassured, contemplative. I love contemplative. If you know me at all, you know that I carry these little, not so little, journals with me all the time. I have a baby one for my purse so I can carry it because there are constant ideas that are coming to my mind or difficult things I need to resolve with my full-time profession as a mother. I'm at the doctor's. I am at the school talking to teachers and talking to whoever it is that I need to talk to at different settings. And they might say, oh yeah, your child, one of the 10, needs to do this assignment. Oh, nice. I should probably write it down. But the idea of being able to put things and thoughts into a paper helps you to be contemplative. Because I think sometimes we don't get to the meditation part because our head is so full of appointments and stuff. Kept my phone with me. This is a little nice alarm thing. Now I'm talking very practical stuff, but practicality and emotions go together. Okay, so we have grounded and present. My husband is an MIT graduate. I got lucky to get a really smart guy. Handsome and tall too, but really smart. So he tells a story of his first week at MIT and the speech that they were given as they were instructing them about the freshman year. They said, we have so much to do here. There's all these classes that are going to overwhelm you. We also have everything you could ever want to do. He was a rower in the Charles River at MIT. So he rowed crew. And he also liked basketball and volleyball and everything, very athletic. So they said, anything you want to create, anything you want to do, we also have wood shop. And we could have all these different things that you can do. And one of the things we're going to teach you is to know how to prioritize and simplify and get to the most important thing for the day. Now, yes, this has to do with peace. Sometimes I feel like, ooh, way out there. No, it has to do with peace because the next piece of advice was, okay, so if you are on the Charles just rowing and are feeling the whole time that you should be doing your math, crazy advanced math for MIT, right? Or he's an engineer. So some design class, what if your homework is late? Stop rowing, get back to your dorm, get your homework done, right? So sometimes being present, being in the right place at the right time is what's going to help us have peace, right? So if we want to really achieve a higher level of peace, which I think all of us need to, we all do, it's a crazy world, we need to start to understand those pieces and what our behavior has to do with it. So when we were talking about just being, let's see which one it is. I like my little wheel here. Balanced. We need to recognize that there are priorities in life. There's right, there's wrong. There are seasons in life. It's easy for us to see nature, like in Utah, which is where I'm from right now. There are seasons, and then you can see the snow and you know it's cold, right? Most people would connect to that. You know that it's springtime, it's time to plant. You cannot be harvesting something you haven't planted. So you have to plant in the spring and you have to harvest in the fall. Seems like a simple thing. But sometimes we want to harvest things we have not planted. And that keeps us from peace. Okay. So here's another tool that I really, really would love to show you. This is absolutely one of my favorite books. And it's called The Anatomy of Peace by the Advenger Institute. This is the idea that you can resolve conflict, but getting all the way to the anatomy of it, to the heart. As we go through this month, I would like to invite you to get a journal. If it is an iPad, if it is something you want to record on your phone, if it is paper like an old-fashioned like I am, go ahead, go find it. Go start to think about, okay, how aware am I, which is something we'll be talking in January. But start today. How much peace do I feel in the daily basis? So, as you know, I mentioned to you, this is a Peace Today, right? That's the name of our show. And there's a reason for that. So today, don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about what happened in your childhood. Don't worry about any of that right now. Start to realize, okay, today, how much peace do I feel? And what is peace? How do you define it? How do you feel at peace? What makes you feel like you are connecting to that divine that is inside you? So going back to the analogy of farming, you know that inside your heart, inside your soul, there is divine. And sometimes we forget that. So I have this silly little story I tell my children. And it's about just the idea of having a wolf inside, or more like a dog, actually. It doesn't make any sense, but it's a good analogy, I think. Two dogs inside you, and they're fighting, right? And one of them is red, and one of them is blue. Blue symbolizing peace. Red, more like anger and frustration and all this fear, or anything that is negative, right? All the stuff on this side. Peace and everything else that is not good. So, if it was a dog, which one would grow more? The one you feed, right? It's a childhood story. You can picture that. If you have two dogs in a kennel and you feed the red one more, that's the one that's going to be strong. So, start writing. What are you feeding in your life? Are you feeding peace? Or are you feeding everything else that's dark? I know the world is very confusing. I traveled about 20 countries over the last few years. 12 last year. Right before COVID, I got all my traveling in. But it wasn't a travel for pleasure kind of thing, and that's fun. And I love a beach as much as anybody else. But these were intentional places that I chose to travel to understand how specific places or people or programs or countries have succeeded at being prosperous. And the reason this has to do with peace is because prosperity and peace are in the same family, right here. Doesn't mean prosperity as in I have the latest iPhone and I drive the coolest car. Not that kind of prosperity. More like internal prosperity. You know, how is life working well for different people? And I was really impressed by the different approaches that I discovered. One of my favorite people in the world, and I assume she knows this, is Dr. Agadir from Jordan. Absolutely wonderful example. And she was one of the places I visited of what brings real ultimate peace. In her case, she's absolutely gorgeous. Probably never seen somebody more beautiful. Also very intelligent. PhD psychology, I believe. But she still felt, and she's a mother, which is so cool, right? We're talking about just 3 impossible things in one human. But then she decided that she was filled enough with peace and abundance and prosperity that she wanted to help the people around her. And we actually will discuss that in week 3 with my friend Rule. That Rule and I have done a lot of developing of cultures that need just a little bit of a notch. Anyway, she noticed that some of the girls that were orphans would be kicked into the system after 16 or 18, whatever that rule is in Jordan. And she started to visit with them. They will come to her and say, oh, I just did this awful thing and I don't know what to do. I the only thing I can think of is to sell my body, or some crazy story like that. And she started to notice the pattern. And so she started to have them come to her house. And the first few that she adopted on her own, unofficially, I guess, adopted these girls and nurtured them and helped them. And these girls did not have the family systems that we talk about in episode 2, which is something that is very, very important, very crucial. But nevertheless, I've met them. They're absolutely put together and wonderful, but they had that nurturer. They have this woman that needed to expand her peace and her prosperity and bring it beyond. And this helped her find even more peace. Because at the end of the day, the more we give, the more we have, right? And I'm not talking about just gifts. I'm talking about the more love you have, the more light you have, the bigger it gets, right? We talked about she then has created a massive, wonderful project that I think at Peace Today is going to be connected to. We're hoping to have some of the merchandise that these girls make be part of our marketplace. They are absolutely brilliant girls and beautiful, and they have learned that they can be at peace regardless of their very, very difficult circumstances, like being an orphan in the Middle East. So getting back to the spark within us. If you think about each of us being just a little coal, a little red coal, like when you go camping, when you do a barbecue, a little coal is not going to heat up and it's not going to last. Even if it did get hot enough, it can't cook anything. It can't do anything. So I would like to promote the idea of us becoming a little family of little coals, and it's okay. We are not completely independent from the world, right? We talked about that. We are connected to each other. And until we accept that and we work on those relationships and not being overly controlling, but nurturing and finding the balance between dependence and independence, becoming an interdependent society, then those coals will get closer together. They will get warmer. So to me, that's the seed of divinity within us. We naturally want to love. We naturally want to connect. We definitely naturally want to be grateful. The closing episode for this month is going to be my youngest daughter. Now, some of you know me through that crucible we went through last year, around this time actually. My Facebook memories have been showing me some pretty dramatic posts and pictures from last year. So one of the things I noticed, and of course it's easier to see something that has already happened and analyze it. In the middle of it, I was just literally surviving. Nothing like almost killing your daughter, your baby daughter that trusted you. It was an accident, right? And I got over the guilt of that fairly quickly because I had my systems in place. I had that connection to the divine that helped me. I knew that regardless of my incompetent human self, I had somebody that could carry me and could help me through it. Anyway, one of the things that we mentioned that we will mention in that episode is how the first words out of her mouth after the accident, she was fairly unconscious, I guess. She doesn't remember this, but I remember her very much because she kept saying, I love you, Mommy. Thank you, Mommy. I was talking to a friend last night about today's podcast. He mentioned that love and gratitude are a huge component of feeling peace. I agree. I think part of the reason I was able to survive and not end up in the mental hospital myself, because that would have been the right place for me. Foreign country, nothing familiar. At least they spoke English, and it was sunny and beautiful. But it was very difficult to not be anybody out there. Nobody knew me. I had no family. I had not my home, not my car, nothing. Broken clavicle. And of all things, my silly phone broke too. So I ended up being literally with the ground shifting under my feet. I had to grow and just reach out to a light, something that could sustain me. Luckily, that love came from God and my relationship with Him, but also came from the people around me. I completely grew up a brand new family. Thank you, Aussies. You guys are the best. Have the best pumpkin pie and turkey out there, even though Thanksgiving is not a thing. But one of my friends that had lived in America made it for me. What a beautiful gesture, right? So love, connection, gratitude. And one that I think we'll be able to connect as we get through the month is the idea of law. Having order in life. Having law which provides that. Not just like a government law, but law of gravity, right? Most of us know we jump off a roof, we're just going to get hurt, right? We're just going to do that. 2-year-olds might not, so we keep them close. So the ideas that I would like to discuss with my guests are I hope, are going to be powerful to you. Everything should sound familiar. There's really nothing new. But I think it's fun to have just the essential, bottled, step-by-step idea of how to find peace. Because at the core of everything I'm trying to say, the peace comes from within. If we think we're victims, our life is just going to be awful. It's just going to be a victim-laden life. If we think on the other side, like my daughter has told me, my little girl that was in an accident, that if you can be choosing peace, then our life would be different. Thank you for listening. It's fun to talk. I love being able to have a conversation, and I wish you were near me. I imagine that I'm talking to one of you, and each of you individually, and having these discussions about life that we all love to have. I have friends all over the world, and I really love that I can connect with you, even if it's through a lens. Thank you. Have a wonderful week. Choose peace.